Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mean Green Gridiron podcast. I'm your host, Billy Sierra, and I'm joined once again by Carter. Carter, how's it going, man?
Good evening, Billiam. Preemptively, this is the first episode on the podcast that we will upload to Apple and Spotify, or
Just putting it out there already, man.
or
Confident man.
or Deezer, wherever you consume your podcasts. We're gonna try. I'm not giving it 110%, but we're gonna attempt an upload tonight and see how it goes. If it's not, then sorry for getting your hopes up. But other than that, I'm doing good. So good nights. Coming down with a little bit of a cold, so trying to beat that by Saturday. Yeah. I'm covering Saturday's game against South Alabama for the ticket, so that'll be fun. I get to sit up in the press box and get a full view of the game. So need the North Texas chant loud and clear so I can hear it from the press box. Other than that, yeah, just chilling. Good week. It feels good being 4-0.
Yeah. We're official now. Carter's got a press pass, or at least he's official.
I can be there on behalf of the podcast, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, we're official just in time for the national media to start covering us as the Cinderella story of college football.
Yes.
But I did notice that it seemed like there was even more national buzz regarding our team than there was at Washington State. Like Washington State, people were noticing the score for sure, but they were like, "Oh, what's going on with Washington State?" Whereas this week it was like, "Wow, the Mean Green, put out a statement win against Army." So that did seem to be a little bit of a tonal shift from the non-local people who are kind of saying something and noticing the Mean Green. Did you feel the same way, or do you feel like that's kind of you got the AP vote and coaches poll votes too?
Yeah, we got receiving votes, which I don't know the last time UNT received votes was. I do know we haven't been ranked since 77, but or is it 4-0 since 77, or we're 5-0 since 77?
Yeah, I heard 5-0 since 77, but I also heard 5-0 since 1959. So I'm not.
I keep getting them mixed up because I don't think Hayden Fry was ever ranked. I'm pretty sure none of the Fry teams ever got ranked, but who knows? It's been a long time, so it feels good to even if it's 2 votes and we know who those 2 voters are. I don't have them on my notes here, but they're out there on Twitter. We've been giving them some love. I will try to track their names down this week, especially if we win, and give them some thanks and a shout out on next week's pod, because I don't care. I don't care if it's only 2 people. The fact that 2 people out there who are legitimate college football writers think that we're a top 25 team feels really cool. It's as far as like the national perception, being that I work at the ticket, like I'm noticing more people at the station kind of talk about UNT, which is cool. Which it doesn't. I'm glad that it hasn't taken like Texas A&M and Tech sucking for that to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like most of those programs were kind of on a down trajectory in 2018 when we were last kind of nationally relevant at any level. Texas was bad in 2018, I'm pretty sure, or at least bad by their standards, and Tech wasn't great. And so all those teams kind of having no spotlight was a little bit nicer for us, because it was like, oh, North Texas is doing pretty good. But this week it feels like, all those teams are like top 25 teams, all 3 of them. And even still, we're getting talked about on the ticket. We're getting talked about on like Sports Illustrated and stuff. Like I'm seeing all sorts of articles about Drew. Obviously, how many times this year we're gonna have to hear he didn't play football in high school, and it has gotten a little bit tiring. But as long as people are figuring it out and talking about us, I can't complain. It feels cool. I'm trying to not get soaked up in it. We're only 4-0, and I really want this to be a special season, like we all do. So we're only 4-0. We still got 8 games left to go. Trying not to drink the Kool-Aid just yet, but it's definitely been cool. I got people texting me kind of every other day or so. My friends who are into football, who usually don't really care about North Texas and are bigger fans of bigger teams, justifiably so, are taking a little bit more of an interest in what we're doing and keeping an eye on us every Saturday. So that's nice. And it's just vibes are good. It feels like there's an energy around the team now. So that's always good to get some local press and see if we can carry it into week 5.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know if you saw I guess Eric Morris and Drew Messmaker were on some CBS Sports show yesterday. I haven't seen any clips or anything from it, so I don't know how that went. But I did listen to the ticket interview with Mino and Sean Bass. Had Drew Messmaker on yesterday, and it was pretty clean cut media trained interview. There wasn't a lot of headlineable quotes from Drew or anybody else, but I did like how I think it was Mino was saying, like, all we knew, but we were covering that game for the ticket, and all we got from the media notes going into the game was, he's like, you probably know what that note was, and it was like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, thank you for putting in those terms instead of just saying it for the millionth time. But anyways, yeah, as far as the media coverage wins, all that is great, but even better was kind of the actual outcome during the game. Beat Army 45-38 in overtime, get up 21-0 on them, and just what followed from there was a really strange, weird football game. And we were so used to strange, weird football games meaning bad things for North Texas,
Yep.
and it was really nice to pull this one out. Another big turnover. I think we had 3 turnovers, but they were all off of Cale Hellams when he was at quarterback. They make the switch to Dwayne Coleman, and he kind of lights us up for most of that game. But again, we were able to pull it out. Caleb Hawkins, big coming out party, 4 touchdowns, American Athletic Conference Player of the Week. And it just, apparently, according to Eric Morris in his presser this week, he basically said that they didn't plan that it was, McGill kind of went out, and then Jaden Bex was, they're rolling Jaden Bex as kind of the second rotational back, and then he had to come out of the game. So they put Hawkins in, and then he ran like he did, and then it was kind of like, okay, like I guess this is happening. We have to keep rolling with him. And there were some times during the game where they were still kind of using Bex a little bit, and Jaden Bex, not to say anything bad about him. I think he's a talented back, and he's a valuable player to have on your roster. I think he's that speed is definitely an asset, but
I think
I did
you could just stay with him. He hasn't come into his own yet. He's got the skill set, but he's got to find himself as a player. It'll happen
for sure. And but there were times where I felt like, man, like whenever we give him the ball, I feel like it's a carry that should be going to Hawkins. Like that was just how I felt at the time about the results that we were getting out of his carries. And then pretty soon after that, they were going to Hawkins. And the way he runs, I've seen a lot of people liking it to Jeffrey Wilson. I see it too. It's that upright running style where he's able to just shake off these tackles. He's able to break tackles so fast that it makes you think, like, wait, did somebody actually get a hand on him, or is he just did they just miss him entirely? Like he shakes off of these arm tackles without losing speed, and he's just able to just keep steaming ahead. And it's so impressive. It's especially useful in the goal line. That's why he got the 4 touchdowns. But it kind of gave a new dynamic to the offense that I think we hadn't seen, and it almost makes me kind of reevaluate the offense in terms of like what their ceiling is for to have a running back like that suddenly in the fold. And look, he's still a freshman. There could be freshman mistakes and all that, but again, it looked great. Offensive line played great. What did you see kind of with that performance there?
Yeah, same thing. Offensive line was awesome, which is about as good as I could have hoped coming off the Wazoo game. Army is a team that's going to wear you down physically. You're going to come away with some injuries, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But as far as Hawkins goes, we were so excited after that drive in the Wazoo game. We're like, whoa, this is one of those players that could just pop up and be a difference maker on your team that maybe you weren't totally expecting. I remember when we recruited him, again, I've talked about this before on the show. I am not as plugged in with recruiting as you guys are, or other people in the UNT fandom. That being said, I was aware of Caleb Hawkins when he was getting recruited here. I saw how highly touted he was coming out of Oklahoma, and that there were some other bigger relevant programs that were interested in him, and he still picked us. So that's cool. And it's nice to see the talent kind of come together there. I definitely see some Jeff Wilson in him. He's got that kind of put your head down, just bully ball, yards after contact kind of run that he doesn't look like he's ever worried about like fumbling. He doesn't run like loosey goosey. He's just a straight hard nosed running back. And it definitely opens up, like looking at the depth chart for South Alabama, which, not to jump ship there, we'll get there in a minute, but the depth chart for South Alabama has all 4 running backs listed as or, which is awesome. That's a good problem to have. If you've got 4 different running backs who you can utilize, I've kind of talked about it for years, where it feels like Patrick Cobb's specialty is kind of having one guy who can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Like you've got the hard nose kind of just lean forward, just ground and pound running back. You've got the shifty guy who's probably Bex in this core, whose strength is probably, shuffling the feet and creating some space. McGill's looked a little bit better every week. I'm starting to see him create a little bit more space as a running back. So there's guys everywhere in the core that are starting to make plays, and especially against a team like Army, I'm really glad that our passing and rushing was both kind of 50-50 on Saturday. We didn't have to rely too heavily on one or the other. Like I said, I think that's going to be one of the teams this year that really wears you down, and we're going to play 2 more teams that are kind of that similar style of offense with Rice and Navy, but I think Army is probably the best iteration of that style of ball that we're going to play left. I don't like that we have 3 games on the schedule against that kind of ball, but it is what it is. As far as the game itself goes, you mentioned it too, and I couldn't agree more. Like I don't want to keep saying I've seen North Texas lose this game 100 times, because we could do that for any win we ever have. But going up big, kind of faltering the lead, second, third quarter, the North Texas I've watched for the last X amount of years has lost that game 100 times, where, you show some offensive firepower early and then you get figured out. You can't make adjustments at halftime, and the other team figures you out, blows you away in the second half, and you lose by 20. That's happened numerous times to this program in the last decade. Going into West Point and beating this team that, maybe doesn't have the best strength of schedule so far. They played Kansas State, who's probably not very good. They lost to Tarleton. It's still Army. It's still a Jeff Monken coach team. They're kind of like when you say you throw the stats out the window for a rivalry game. This is one of those games where I consider throwing stats out the window. I'm not gonna chastise our defense for giving up almost 400 rushing yards. It's Army. It's a different scheme. It's something that a lot of these guys are not used to playing, and it's not something you're going to be facing every Saturday. So you could put Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State out there against Army. They're still going to have to figure out how to do something different than what they're used to. So I'm not going to be too critical of the defense. Obviously, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of some clamps after going up 21-0. But really, there's a phrase I'm trying to look for. You can isolate this game. You can put it in a bubble. As far as I'm concerned, they did what they needed to do. They hunkered down in the fourth quarter, got it to overtime, made a big defensive stop there to prevent Army from winning at the end of regulation. Great 4-and-out to end the game. They did what they needed to do, man. They went on the road and got a hard-fought dub. And like a lot of people in the community have been saying, I mean, this doesn't feel like a team that is playing ball like North Texas would be expected to do normally, where, we've lost a lot of those games. And, maybe we're coming into looking at the season from the week 0 perspective. Maybe you say, okay, Washington State and Army are both maybe close losses, and you're coming into South Alabama 2-2. It's like, oh, okay. That might be normal for like North Texas past, but this is a team that has 2 dominant home wins. And that's as dominant as with a capital D as you can say. I mean, they have been lights out at home. Again, one was an FCS opponent who might be decent for FCS. I think Lamar got some votes this week.
They did.
And you beat Wazoo. That's an impressive win, even if it's not, a bunch of South Dakota transfers. It's still a power-ish program, whatever you want to call them. And then you have 2 road overtime wins. And so, this team's been tested. They've been in the driver's seat in a couple games, and they've had to come from behind or fend off a comeback, and they've proven that they can handle that sort of stuff. So I think in terms of how they've won their games. Like, you couldn't really ask for a better script to start the year. You've got a little bit of both. You can see what this team's capable of doing when they're in the driver's seat, like I said. And then we've also been able to see how they handle adversity. So I think it's really promising for the next 8 games, especially with some of our tougher opponents coming up. But as for the game as a whole, I'm just proud of them. I'm just proud they got the win. It doesn't matter how you get a win at Army. I'm not worried about it going to overtime. I'm not worried about blowing the lead. That is a different type of ball than you're going to be playing most every Saturday. And you got to figure out how to beat them. And they did. So,
yeah. And I think something that you said about, we've seen a lot of times North Texas gets figured out and then we kind of lose a lead or we get taken to us in the second half. I think that to me looks like the strength of the team right now is that we can win games in a multitude of ways. You had obviously great rushing performance. We talked that first game against Lamar, we didn't run the ball well, and we're like, hey, let's keep an eye on this. But no reason to freak out yet. So far, that has absolutely been an outlier. We have run the ball really well. This Saturday, we had McGill had 101 yards. Hawkins had 99 yards and 4 touchdowns. And really, Hawkins would have had even more, but he kept running into the end zone. So you can't get extra yards there. But
it's gotten better each week. The running game's gotten better each week.
Yeah, for sure. And even then, McGill broke off a long run that we get a kind of a phantom holding call on Landon Sides that would have iced the game. Like the running game has been there. And then obviously we know what Drew Messmaker can do. Something that I was really happy to see us do in overtime is the first play of the game, we ran an RPO, or sorry, the first play of overtime, we ran an RPO and it didn't work. And my thought was like, just let the offensive line is blocking so well in pass protection. And Drew Messmaker, we know what he is. Let's just make them actually defend a drop back pass. Give Messmaker time to scan the field and just have a traditional drop back and let him go through his reads and pick apart the defense. And they did that after like I said, the first play, they run an RPO, doesn't work. Second play, they let Messmaker drop back and he hits Sides and gets a big chunk play there. And then, obviously we get down and then Hawkins runs it in. I think Sides caught 2 passes in overtime, but you have the RPO, which is kind of, the bread and butter of our offense throughout the course of the game in between the 20s, but you have the drop back ability where you've got a good quarterback in the pocket, but you also have a good offensive line who can pass protect. And then with the running game, like they're just running the ball so well. So it feels like this offense, there's no figuring them out. It's just it's hard to get them to stop them. And obviously we saw, we went for it on some fourth downs. We didn't quite convert, but the plays were there on the fourth downs that we missed. Like Mestamaker had a touchdown to Miles Coleman that he overthrew, and that was it. There was another one to McGill, swing pass behind him. We got bailed out by a targeting call that was a valid targeting, but it was after he'd already dropped the pass. Yeah. But again, those plays were there, and I think Mestamaker will convert those far more often than not. I think it's just kind of a little bit of bad luck there. But again, we're so hard to beat. 2 more things that I want to go over. One is, again, the defense forced a lot of turnovers. Like you said, it's not a typical week. One thing that I want to see more of, especially against South Alabama, is let's get off the field via punt. Like, to me, I love the turnovers. The turnovers are great, but like forcing a team to punt, that's what's sustainable. That's not really much luck involved. So yeah, that's what I want to see is more like get into these third and longs. You've got good defensive backs. Get off the field via punt. Are
we on pace for 30 turnovers? Is that the current going rate? 30 turnovers this year?
Yeah, I think we had.
We have 10. We have 10 right now.
Yeah, so we didn't have any against Western Michigan, but yeah, so we have 10. Yeah, again on pace for 30 turnovers, which is just insane. But yeah, I think what Carter's getting at there is like that's not going to happen. You're not actually going to get 30 turnovers. So like, can you as a defense get teams off the field just by forcing them to punt? And that was probably the most disappointing part of the game, is that we didn't force a single Army punt. And like part of that is, again, because they're turning the ball over, and part of that was also because they're coming back from behind. We forced a fourth downs in their own territory that they converted later in the game because they had to. But again, they converted it. Like you've got to get them off the field on these just conventional 3-and-outs or what, stopping them before they get to the 50-yard line
Sure.
via punt. So I mean, what do you think about kind of the defense and how they can kind of I guess translate to the rest of the year without maybe the turnover aspect being quite to the level it's been?
Well, listen, man, I'm an optimist. Okay, so if the projected for or expected number says 30, I'm wanting 30. I want 30 turnovers. Uh, Realistically speaking, like you said, you can't bank on having 30 turnovers in a season. That's a lot. I don't know what the record for an NCAA season is through 12 games, but 30 sounds pretty high. Uh, that being said, I do think that the turnovers we're creating have been a little bit at the benefit of some other teams messing up. I don't have every single turnover in front of me, so I'm not looking at film, but I can recall a couple that were, like a screen option misread where the quarterback just kind of loses the ball.
Right.
I remember against Wazoo, they had that one fumbled handoff. Um, that's not to say they're all like that. We had the sick Trey Fields one-handed pick against Lamar.
Yeah, I mean
We've
the
had
picks have all felt legitimate.
Yep. The pick against Wazoo that Shane Witter forced was entirely forced by our defense,
Right.
really by him.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
but
he
yeah,
gets the other one himself.
yep, exactly. So a lot of the turnovers have been self-created.
Yeah.
There have been a couple that have I don't want to say lucky, but just have been right place, right time. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I couldn't agree more. Got to get off the field. Forcing more punts Saturday would be a huge win for us. I think it's like you said, it's how you win games. You got to find ways to. Okay, what if we play an offense that's really, really good at protecting the ball? That's one of their strengths is that they don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
We're going to spend all week saying, well, we hope we can figure out a way to, get a pick or force a vote. Like you can't game plan like that. You have to play to your strengths and you have to exploit their weaknesses. And we are going to run into some teams that protect the ball well. So yeah, definitely need to punt more or force punts more. Having said that, I would give the defense the benefit of the doubt of they've created enough pressure to instill a lot of these turnovers early on that, maybe weren't expected. I don't think anybody would have predicted, like, even if we had like the highest upside in optimism for this defense coming into the year, I don't think any of us said 10 turnovers through 4 games. Nobody. Like, again, we're all used to seeing North Texas have a bottom 10 to 15 defense in the country for the last 5 to 10 years. So why would we expect anything like this? This is a complete 180. And like I said, yeah, they gave up a lot of rushing yards. Yeah, they got a little bit worn down Saturday, but it's not like it's not a game that I'm saying, oh, well, see that our defense isn't actually that good. It's just Army. Like, I guarantee you, had we played South Alabama last weekend, we probably would have some similar defensive numbers for the first 3 weeks. You're going to get tested against better teams. Army is probably the best team we've played so far. Debatably, Western Michigan looks pretty good. They just beat Toledo. Yeah. But yeah, as far as like, just keep doing what you're doing. You're creating good defensive pressure. I think teams are scared to play us on defense, which is nice. So I would like to see, I don't know what our third down numbers are, but I don't think they're probably very good, at least from eye test through 4 games. I think we probably have struggled a little bit on third downs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look that up while you talk, but yeah, definitely agree. Need to force more punts.
Yeah. And I think the last couple things I want to touch, or last thing in particular about this game that I want to touch on is just kind of the elephant in the room. I think a little bit is the Eric Morris decision making and to kick or not to kick. So, I think that I kind of see both sides here. Like, he mentioned it. The halftime one is inexcusable. He's like, yeah, I should have kicked that. I was watching the game with my 11-year-old son, and I was like, okay. I was like, oh, okay, fine. It's a good pass. They got as a good pass. Call timeout. And he's like, they don't have any timeouts left. I was like, what? They don't have? Yeah, they do, right? No, they really don't have any timeouts left. Like, wow, they really just let the clock run down. I couldn't believe that. I was like, how could they run that play with such little time left and like be reliant on getting out of bounds. I don't know. It was baffling to me. I thought that they had a timeout left, and that's why he did it. And then when I realized, oh no, they really ran that play, I was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty bad. Like, just kick the field goal, give yourself a chance. And then in the fourth quarter, there were a couple chances there where either, kick the field goal or, maybe even punt and pin them deep and make them drive down the field, given how long that their drives take, and just, take your chances that way. I think one thing that I want North Texas fans to kind of do a better job of, in particular, when you analyze this stuff, is you cannot analyze the decisions in hindsight. You can't say they
Right.
didn't convert, it's a bad decision, or they did
Right.
convert, it's a good decision. Like, it can go both ways. You go for it on 4th and 15 at your own 5-yard line. You can convert that. That doesn't mean it's a good decision.
Yep.
So you have to evaluate the decision with the circumstances that were available at the time that it was made. And I think, again, that one at the end of the half was inexcusable. Even with all the circumstances available, you have to kick that ball. Just kick the ball. You don't have any timeouts left. Try and make the field goal. If he misses, he misses. But yeah, running out of time is just not the right call there. And then in the second half, again, I don't hate going for that last one again where Messmaker overthrew Coleman. I think it was on the 4th down, or no, sorry, it was the 4th down where they ran the ball to Hawkins. I didn't hate going for it there, but it felt like running it there was tough. Like, that was not what I would have done. I think that, again, like I said, with overtime, it's like, let Drew drop back and scan the defense. He does such a good job of that. The offensive line protects so well. Like, take your chances with that kind of play, in my opinion. But
Sure.
like I said, I don't hate the call. I don't hate the decision. I hate the play call. And then I think, yeah, the last thing is just, like I said, play the situation. Like, we had the lead. We had an offense that obviously is not a quick strike offense. And like, I just feel like situationally we didn't play great. Like, McGill, the fumble there is kind of like, hey, look, they beat us. The linebacker sprung free and he's got you one-on-one. Just protect the ball. Just don't take your 3-yard, 4-yard loss. Just don't fumble. I feel like he kind of tried to make a miss and then he got the ball popped out. Like, know the situation. Quentin Hammonds, who's had a good season, he's a good player. Know the situation. You cannot get beat behind you there. And he let the receiver drip behind him and get a long touchdown catch and run to get them back in the game. Like, those are the kind of things to me that are more frustrating than maybe the decision making. It was just know the situation in the game, play smart situational football, and that's where I think we struggled the most in letting them get back in it.
Yeah. I agree with you there. I think if you looked at any college football program out there, pretty much all the fans are going to kind of say the same thing about their coach too, where there's
sure.
maybe 2 coaches this century who don't who don't get that benefit of the doubt, because it or do get the benefit of the doubt there. I mean,
Right.
A lot of college football fans out there would say, going back and looking at the context of some decisions, maybe not always happy with 100% of them. I think especially when you have a younger coach who he's only at his second full head coaching stop, his first FBS gig. I know he's in year 3, but I think you might be susceptible to, still figuring some stuff out for yourself.
Yeah.
Got to remember he's human too. Definitely. I agree with your take about like going back and having the context. It's easy to sit there and like, if you get a, like you said, a 4th and 15 and you convert, it's easy to be like, oh, well, hey, yeah, he's a balls to the wall. Let's go. Like that worked. It's very easy to jump on that bandwagon and then be critical when you don't get it. But, as far as the context for situationally this game, I'm a little worried that we don't have any faith in Naguma. I'm not sure where that came from. I to my knowledge, he has not missed a kick this year.
But he also hasn't taken one. I think his long is 28, 29 yards. So
I know his range is a little bit limited, but don't love that going into week 5. It's we're not perfect, and of course, there's always gonna be things to clean up or get better at, but that's something that could make or break a game right there. And you want to have faith that your kicker can hit a 35 to 40-yard field goal.
Well,
So
and that's the weird thing is last year he was 5 of 5 from 30 to 39,
yeah.
and he was 4 of 5 from 40 to 49. So like he last
So
year,
is it a Yips thing? Who
I
knows?
mean, all his kicks have looked solid this year. Last year he was 2 for 5 from in the 20s. So like last year his worst percentage was the short kicks, which is
Really?
yeah, he was 2 for 5 from 20 to 29, 5 for 5 from 30 to 39, and then 4 for 5 from 40 to 49. And then he missed a 50-yarder. But again, like he made some big kicks last year. In particular, I remember last year against was it Florida Atlantic? He hit like a big 46-yarder, like a clutch field goal that we needed late in that game on a wet field.
Yeah.
So like it seemed like when we had to trust him last year, he mostly came through. Like I said, he kind of missed some short ones, but I I don't know. I feel like it's maybe a little bit unwarranted. I don't think I get that he's not, an NFL kicker. You don't want him kicking. He's not Trevor Moore. He's not probably not even Noah Rauschenberg. But I think that the level of trust, I think you have to take your chances with it a little bit more, trusting him a little bit more. Take your chances and let's try and get some extra points. And if he
Yeah.
misses, like play the percentages. If he might miss, one out of every 4 field goals, but again, that's still points, and you need points to win these games. You can't just rely on going for it on 4th down all the time, and that's talk about things that are sustainable. I don't think that's sustainable. Having to rely on going for fourth down all the time. So
Yeah,
uh,
I agree. That's got to be something internal that we don't know about.
yeah, for
And
sure, possibly.
yeah, hope that gets resolved. But like I said, I mean, that's the only concerning thing there is if you have a kicker who you don't trust, that is a make or break factor for winning games. It's one thing if you have, one defensive or offensive player who's got the yips that you can maybe work around that.
Right.
But if your starting kicker is not to be trusted, that's, you could literally win or lose a game depending on that. So
Yeah.
a little concerning, but like I said, you're not gonna be perfect at everything. This is the fun part of watching football is you get to celebrate the good stuff and super micro analyze the bad. And
Right. For sure.
um, I hope going forward that this is an issue that gets resolved and we can get better at it. By the way, while we were discussing this, I did look up our 3rd down stats, not to go back to the defense, but where, on top of your head, where do you think we rank out of 136 teams in 3rd down efficiency on defense?
She's talking about getting
Off the
the
field
other
on
team
3rd
off.
down.
Yeah,
Our,
getting off
our
third down.
defense against their offense on 3rd down. Where do you think we rank?
I think I would guess like 70s, like 76, somewhere around there.
Why don't you try 123rd in the country at 52.8%? Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
it's not good.
Wow.
I'm looking at each of the last couple games. Army was 8 of 16 on 3rd down. Washington State was 8 of 14, and Western Michigan was 9 of 18. So that's what I was saying. Like I didn't have the numbers in front of me, but it feels like watching the first 4 games this year that we just cannot get off the field on 3rd down. And it's not that we're allowing big plays either. Like it's
Right.
just, it feels like we're allowing, those quick 5-10 yard, maybe like out routes, or maybe it's third and short. They get a quick run up the middle. Like we're not giving up huge chunk plays, which is a good thing. But part of that too, again, is because the defense has done a good job of creating turnovers. So the opponent's drives are either ending in, field goal or touchdown or turnovers. And it's been good enough
Right.
to win us 4 of our first 4 games. But yeah, definitely that is a concerning stat right there. I knew it was bad, but I didn't think it'd be that bad.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's concerning, but I also feel like there's a little bit of luck involved where I feel like that is going to turn in a favorable way for us. But I also think, again, conversely, I think the turnovers is going to turn in an unfavorable way. I think we're gonna have less turnovers and more get out the field on 3rd down. But how much can you improve that? Can you improve that significantly? Can you improve that a little bit? Can it's got to go up from there if you're going to win this conference. The defense statistically has been really good this year, but again, it's just been so overly reliant on turnovers. Yeah, you definitely want to make that more. Like we talk about the offense. The offense is diverse. They can, we've been killing teams on the ground lately. We know what Drew Messmaker can do. can the defense be diverse? Can they get turnovers, but also force, incompletions on third down, or get, I just, what I want to see is more good first. I feel like first and second down haven't been great a lot of times, where it's like they're running the ball for something, they're running the ball for 4 or 5 yards, and they're setting up second and manageable, or third and short. Like that's where that starts. And again, I want to see more of that. And then kind of last, I think my thought after this game is that when teams go to play us going forward the rest of the year, I think they're going to look at the Army in Western Michigan games and say, hey, this North Texas team, they're fast. They've got playmakers all over the field on both sides of the ball that, like, they'll hit you hard. They'll, whatever. But they can kind of be, you can lean into them a little bit. You can be physical against them, and that's maybe their weakness. And I think going forward, we'll see that. South Alabama this week is a team that really likes to run the ball. They've got a couple good running backs. They've got a quarterback who can run the ball well. So I think that's what we're going to see this week, is a heavy emphasis on being physical against us and trying to wear us down that way, whereas opposed to, you don't want to get in a track meet with us. So going to South Alabama, is that something you see as kind of being the blueprint for how teams are going to attack us going forward?
Yeah, it is. And I really, you mentioned incomplete passes. I think that's a huge thing we can step up and just get an extra like 4 to 5 incomplete passes a game. Our secondary, like I've talked about, I think their specialty is, quick responsiveness. They don't get burnt too bad. There were a couple plays where Army was running past us, but again, I'm not that is an isolated incident. I think our secondary is strong enough to at least limit opposing passing games. Having said that, this does, like you mentioned, this does feel like a defense that can kind of be picked apart a little bit. You kind of lean into your strengths. South Alabama, like you said, just a good rushing team. It's not a defense that's going to completely shut you down. Even against Washington State, a lot of their offense was, self-inflicted errors. They still had a couple of really good drives against us. And so, like we've talked about all year, the defense doesn't have to be elite to win us games. It just has to be good enough. So just find what works for you. If you're struggling in one department, just step up in another. We have good two deep rotations still. Guys have stayed relatively healthy. So, again, like I just said, no team is perfect in week 5, and you just got to figure out what works for you. There's going to be an Achilles heel to exploit at some point somewhere. What matters is how you step up and respond to that. So, not too concerned, but definitely some stuff to clean up. Going into South Alabama.
So South Alabama, they're an opponent we played last year. Beat them in Mobile. Was it 52-35? I think. 52-38. They lose Gio Lopez from their.
Wait. Well, real quick. There was one thing I wanted to talk about on Army before we moved on.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's stupid. It's just one little kudos. That touchdown pass to Wyatt Young in the corner of the end zone. I am not exaggerating when I say this. That is, if you go into my brain, I think I cannot find 10 passes from anybody ever that I have enjoyed watching more. That was a dot. There are NFL quarterbacks that can't make that pass, and I'm not afraid to say that. That is one of the best passes I've ever seen from a UNT quarterback. Perfectly placed on the dot. Got the cool little dance afterwards from Wyatt. Very cool play. We can talk about Drew Mestermaker in our own, like, we could have a whole episode about how fun he's been. But the fact that he's making passes like that, we talked about this last week too. He had a couple against Washington State where it's just like he's making some passes that are NFL level quality passes. And to any outside fans listening to this podcast, that was a cover up. He's actually not really that good. I know you've probably heard a lot of good things about this guy who hasn't played high school ball, and he's a new quarterback. He looks like it. Trust me. Do not watch our games. He can be really, really bad and uncharacteristically fumbly and just bad with the ball, bad reads. unathletic. You don't want this guy. Trust me, you don't want this quarterback. Leave him here. He needs to
Yeah,
develop.
he's got 0 interceptions on the year, but that's the thing is he's actually thrown 10 interceptions this year, but they've all
Mm-hmm.
gotten called back from like bad
Yeah,
defensive calls.
bad
Like,
penalties, right?
yeah, so yeah, in reality, like, yeah, he's not a good player. You definitely don't want him on your team, but I digress. Alas, he is our quarterback, and we'll just have to live with that. But
Unfortunately, I guess. Moving on.
yeah,
Okay, South Alabama. Sorry.
no, yeah, for sure. That's my bad. I definitely meant to highlight that as well. So thanks for circling back there. But yeah, South Alabama. Like I said, they were a good team last year. Their record wasn't as great as it could have been, partly because we handed them an L, but they also Gio Lopez missed the game against Ohio. I feel like they would have won that game, but they had to go with Davenport. They ended up 7-6. They beat Western Michigan in the bowl game. And I think they have a lot of familiar faces this year. I kind of watched their team a good bit last year because we played them so early. Bishop Davenport's a guy at quarterback who I think last year he looked like a backup quarterback, but he looked like a capable one.
Mm-hmm.
He runs the ball well. He throws. He's limited as a passer. I don't think he's going to be throwing dimes 40 yards downfield against us, but Devin Boyson's their leading receiver right now. He's got 360 yards through 4 games. A couple years ago, he had over 800 yards. So he is a very productive receiver, very experienced guy. Kentrell Bullock is their running back. He was their running back last year too. Again, he's having another productive year, 364 yards through 4 games. So they've got some weapons offensively. Davenport has played pretty well this year. He did not look good this Saturday. I watched the last half of that Coastal Carolina
Yeah.
game. Coastal Carolina had not had a good year. They had scored 20 points all year coming into that game. They had only won one game where it was an FCS opponent who they beat 13-10. And so going into that game against South Alabama, they were not having a good year. So they beat Charleston Southern 13-0. That was 13 of their 20 points scored on the year. But again, Coastal Carolina went in. South Alabama didn't have a huge game offensively, but they had some big turnovers. I think they had a pick six or a forced fumble late so there's a 13-yard fumble return to beat South Alabama 38-20. And like I said, South Alabama looked bad. Bishop Davenport threw 2 picks. He had that fumble where they had a scoop and score to kind of ice the game. But they looked limited. And if you look at the line right now, I think it's like 12.5 in our favor right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely going to be the favorites going into this one. But really, this definitely talent-wise, looks to be, and I know we use the term trap game a lot here, but this could be one of those trap game type situations where, look, their record's not great, but I think talent wise, like the way that they can stay in this game, like I said, is being physical, running the ball, getting an early lead, and then kind of forcing us to maybe play a little bit tighter than we need to. Because if we play anything like we did the last 2 games at home, where we just get these quick leads and just start pouring it on teams, then we'll be good. But
Yeah.
South Alabama also, again, they had a bad week last week, but they also played Tulane 33-21 at home, and that's a good Tulane team. Played them to a 2-point game, and then they lost at Auburn 31-15, who's a ranked Auburn team, a good Auburn team this year. So they definitely have the ability to stay with us this game. But that being said, this is one of the more winnable games left on our schedule. Like this is one that you have to go in and take care of business.
Sure.
Again, you're at home. You've got all this momentum. You cannot let this be a slip-up game. And you look at some of the good teams we've had in the past have had all this momentum and have just lost a bad game at home. Obviously we talk about the 2018 team all the time. Start off 4-0, get all this press coverage from the Arkansas game, and then get all these people at the Louisiana Tech game, and then you lose.
Yep.
2013 was similar, where we had a chance to go to the conference championship game, had a lot of momentum. We're playing great, and then lost at home to a UTSA team that was like basically their first year in FBS.
Mm-hmm.
And those stung. Those were both really bad losses from good teams at home. And so you cannot let that happen here. You can't, fail to take care of business. But again, South Alabama is it has a chance to be a formidable opponent. But again, if you take care of business, this should be a 2+ score win. What are you kind of looking at going into this matchup?
I'd be a lot more worried if it was on the road.
Yeah, for sure.
The fact that we have this at home feels like we have a little bit more control there. Should be a good crowd. I'm hoping that the Army win was enough to really like. I don't like. I mean, I get that we probably have to do it because of our size as a school, but it does kind of bother me that we have 200,000 alumni in the Metroplex and we have to do the sell out the stadium thing every year, and we never do it.
Yeah.
Didn't do it against Wazoo, which is fine. We were 2-0. Like, it's not the end of the world. But I think through 4 weeks, this team has done enough to prove, like, hey, we are for serious and you should come watch us play. And I'm really hoping that there are 25 plus at DATCU on Saturday. It feels like a lot more people are paying attention to the team, and I'm seeing more UNT TikToks and tweets, and it seems like people are starting to pay attention. So hopefully that translates to a better crowd. I do agree South Alabama is a little bit of a scrappy team. They've got a weird, you kind of mentioned some of their games. They've got a weird resume so far. They played Auburn kind of close. I don't know how good we think Auburn is, but they only lost that game by 16. It was like 30 to 15 or something.
Yeah.
They have a really, really bad loss from last week, like you said, against Coastal Carolina, who didn't do a ton on offense, but teams have ran the ball really well against South Alabama. They have statistically one of the worst rush defenses in the country right now, which going into a matchup with us, all 4 running backs healthy, you'd like to think that's a weakness we can exploit. Yes. They have allowed 199.8 rushing yards per game. So definitely a team that we can, pound the ground against. Hopefully Drew doesn't have to do too much. I don't think they have anything on offense that's too scary for our defense. In terms of talent top to bottom, I would argue that Washington State probably has more on paper than South Alabama does. I don't know how good South Alabama is right now is the problem. Like, they've looked competitive at points. They led Coastal at halftime, and then Coastal just took it to them in the second half, and they played Auburn well, and they played Tulane okay. Like, I'm not really sure how to read this South Alabama team, but I think the best way you could describe this is kind of a must-win for both teams. If South Alabama loses this game, they're 1-4. Their season's kind of fallen apart, and they have really no identity. And if UNT loses this game, I mean, I don't want to call it a must-win for North Texas. It's a non-conference game, but like you mentioned,
it's a must-win for the team as their aspirations currently stand.
Sure, yeah. Well, you start off 4-0, and you're playing a team that is 1-3 coming into place. Yeah, you'd hope you can take care of them. It's not a must-win in terms of like the season's not over if we lose this game, but like you mentioned, having all the kind of momentum, having people starting to take notice, people like Drew getting on CBS and the ticket, and like all sorts of people paying attention. Like, we have a really fun quarterback story. Get that momentum and capitalize on it for once.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like, we're off next week, and then you have the Friday night game against USF. Like, that will be packed. So this is a game where it's not a must win in terms of like you have to win this game to save your season. It's a must win in terms of you set yourself up so well for that block against USF, UTSA, and Navy coming up, where if you can just win this game, you're 5-0 going into the bye. You're one of the best teams in Texas in terms of how well you've played so far. Most importantly, you get that bye and you get a chance to reset, get some guys healthy for a really important stretch in October.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, I know my roundabout point here is I don't think South Alabama brings anything to the table that we can't handle. I think if we lose this game, it's on us. I think it's a matter of controlling the ball, not having stupid turnovers. Like you said, I think it would be very, very important to jump out to a 7-0, 14-0 lead, kind of control the game from there, which, like we said against Army, we said the same thing. Of course, that's a given. You want to jump out to a 14-0 lead any week, but especially in a game like this, where they might be able to run the ball a little bit effectively against you. I don't know how good Davenport is. He's looked okay in some games and bad in others to start out. I do. He hasn't had a turnover in a couple weeks, so he's been playing better. But
Well, no, he had 2 last week.
oh no, I had that reversed. He had 2 last week and 1 before. He started out with like no
Right.
turnovers through the first 2 games. Yeah, I had that backwards. Thank you for correcting me. But my point remains. He's been kind of back and forth this year.
Mhm.
They passed the ball a little bit more the last 2 weeks, so maybe he has a little bit more confidence coming in. But yeah, I don't know that this screams trap game. It screams just please capitalize. This is not a game you should lose. I had no
Yeah.
disrespect to South Alabama, but they don't really have a concise philosophy or strength as a team right now, and I would have no issue with them finding out whatever that is after this week. But this is a 1-3 team that is not great at anything. They're a bad run defense. They're a below average offense. You should be able to handle business. Please handle your business.
Yeah, for sure. And what I was gonna say is I think right now you're 2 wins away from being ranked. I don't know that that's for sure gonna happen, but I think given where you kind of sit, again, you're receiving votes now. South Florida, your next opponent after South Alabama, they are receiving even more votes. They have been ranked this year before they lost to, arguably the one of the best teams in the country in Miami.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're setting yourself up to potentially be ranked here pretty soon.
There are
And
a
obviously,
lot of ranked teams that could lose this weekend. There are, let's see, 1, 2, 3 matchups with 4 matchups with top 25 teams playing each other. BYU has Colorado, Iowa State has Arizona, Tennessee has Mississippi State. Like there's a lot of games. Ohio State's at Washington. There are the potential for a lot of ranked teams to go down this weekend. I agree with you. I think it's probably 2 wins away, but enough stuff could happen this weekend.
And then you have a bye next week, and then the week after that, like I said, you play South Florida. So like over these next 3 weeks, if you take care of if you take care of your business at home, and then you get, like you said, all these other teams across the country beating each other up, like, yeah, you should be ranked. So
Yeah.
it's right there. The opportunity is right there on the doorstep. You have to, like you said, just capitalize on what's in front of you. But
I
I think,
can I ask you a question? Would you
yeah,
rather us be like, assume we beat South Alabama, not to jump too far ahead, but assume we win Saturday. Would you rather us be ranked hosting unranked USF or us be unranked hosting ranked USF?
I think I would rather be us unranked hosting ranked USF, just
Okay.
because I think that going into that game ranked with just all of the disappointment and letdown that we're so used to, it's like, oh look, we're ranked, and then immediately you lose it.
Yeah.
Against a good team. Like I just think that the way our juju kind of works, I feel like I would rather see us unranked going into that game hungry with the chance to beat a
Yeah.
ranked team and hop into the top 25 ourselves, and then then maybe the disappointment comes the next week against UTSA, but hopefully not. Hopefully this is the year we take care of them. They don't look as good either, but
No, they do not. No.
yeah. So I think South Alabama, like I said, the biggest thing is can you not let them out physical you? Because like I said, they're gonna want to run the ball. Bishop Davenport, he is, like I said, I think he's limited as a passer. When I watched him play, it's like he wants to throw the ball short, he wants to get the ball out quick, and he wants to use his legs from time to time. But what I saw last week against Coastal Carolina in particular was, man, whenever they were down and he was having to try and lead a comeback, and like by throwing the ball in the air when the defense knew a pass was coming, it didn't look good. And I think that's what you want to get as much as you can on Saturdays. Get situations where, hey, it's 3rd and 8, the whole stadium is rocking, and they know, everybody in the stadium knows he's going to have to pass the ball to convert the 3rd down.
Make
That's
the play.
that's where he might convert it once every couple or so, but just continue to force that situation and make him beat you. And I think over the course of the game, you're going to be sitting pretty, because again, that's not what he wants to do, and that's not what they want to do as an offense. But if you let them be physical and keep getting 5 yards every carry, and setting up 3rd and 2 where they can run it, pass it, have him, keep it, whatever. Like their playbook expands. That's where they can hang with us and they can get an early lead, and then maybe we start to press a little bit. That is what you cannot allow to happen. You have to make plays early in the game and force them into 3rd and longs. And yeah, like Carter said earlier, with that 3rd down defense percentage, let's get that going up. 126 in the country. Let's get off the field on 3rd down a good chunk this week, and then see that percentage. Maybe we're in the 110 range after this week, something like that. Like get that going in the right direction. You have the chance to against Davenport, where hey, you can force them to throw picks too. Like we'll take turnovers too. That's not a bad thing. But at the same time, like I said, more sustainably, let's start getting off the field on 3rd downs and see how that bodes well for the rest of the year, because we've done pretty well in pass coverage. Part of it's because we haven't played teams that have been super pass heavy with Western Michigan and Army. But again, I think we have a good pass defense. I think if we can get them in the deeper third and longs, I think we will start seeing that 3rd down defense improve and the percentages go up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have no doubts or reservations about this defense, especially after the Army game. The 3rd down thing, it's funny is I while we were podcasting, I posted this in our Mean Green Sports chat, and somebody said I'd say when you get your 3rd down stops is way more important than how many of them you get, and I agree. Yeah, sure. I agree. That is absolutely a correct take. Would I like to be better than 52% in getting off the field? For sure, but what I would say for this team through 4 games is they've been tested situationally. Yeah, they've played 4 games where you can come away content with how they are a situational football team. They have figured out how to shut down teams. They have figured out how to overcome deficits, and they have figured out how to lock down when they need to get a win. That's all you can ask for from a team on both sides of the ball. Sure. The offense has had no real issues, period, which is fun. But the defense has been the one that has had to, kind of figure some stuff out. And the talent is there. I'm looking at the secondary every week, and like I said earlier, I think they're a secondary that is quick to respond. They don't get burnt. They're making good reads. They don't look lost ever. They size up well against receivers. So, like, I trust this defense to be fine against whoever they're playing, as long as they, game plan and practice well. But as far as Saturday's game goes, I'm gonna say something maybe a little bit scandalous here, but I really hope we don't win this game 51-10. I don't think I mean, it would be nice if we do, and I'm not going to complain if we do.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
I don't think it benefits the team in the long run to just keep destroying these teams at home. And that sounds like such a it sounds so snotty and like high. I don't want to win every game 50 points. That's not what I mean. Yeah. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying both of our home games this year have been complete nightmares for the opponent. I think this game needs to be a little bit more of a test for us. I think this game needs to maybe be a little bit closer than we'd like it to be in the 3rd or 4th quarter. And I'm not talking about like a 3-point game, but just, find a way to win a game that isn't a blowout or an overtime win. Keep finding ways to win, do what you need to do against teams situationally. But like I said, this team just doesn't jump off paper to me as anything that's really scary on either side of the ball. They're exploitable on both sides. The only thing I've noted through the first couple of games for South Alabama, and albeit I've only watched probably about 6 quarters of their games so far, they've controlled the ball pretty well. Their time possession numbers are pretty good. A lot of that is from the Morgan State game when I think they had it for like 40 minutes, but they do maintain possession and they do run clock. So kind of like you mentioned, that getting off the field on 3rd downs is a huge aspect, not just in this game specifically, but against an opponent that controls the ball well and doesn't really turn it over too much. Can be a real game swinger for us this week. So
yeah, sure.
How are we doing on time? Do we have anything else on the docket? We're good.
Yeah, we're good. But yeah, no, what you were saying about the being like overly like snotty or like about your own team.
We've earned it. We've earned the right.
Yeah. I know you're where you're the part of town that you're from. You probably were familiar with the Euless Trinity Trojans, right?
Yep.
So I worked with a guy who went to Trinity when I was in high school, and I was playing high school football too. And he was talking about going, what it's like going to Trinity. He's like, yeah, I don't really like going to the football. Like, he played football. He's like, I don't really like going to the varsity games because it's just so boring. They just win so easily, and it's not
Yeah.
even a competitive game. It's like, shut up, like stop showing off. Like
Yeah.
you're not even on the varsity. Like, you don't get to be like, oh yeah, we're so good. It's not even fun. But
They beat. I went to Flower Mound High School. They went to the playoffs. I believe it was 2010, 2009,
yes, or
maybe
2009. Yeah, I know what game you're talking about.
09.
Yeah,
Euless Trinity defeated us 88-27. It was not fun. We were a little bit embarrassed after that one.
yeah, no.
Notably a football town, Flower Mound.
It was at Cowboys Stadium though, because we actually played like the same day as that game.
Were you there? Did you
No,
see it?
no. So like I played for Arlington Martin, and we played Haltom City.
Ah,
Actually, we played the day before. Trinity did that, but anyways, yeah, no, yeah, I'm familiar with that game, but we're not quite on that level yet in terms of just knowing that we're gonna win before. But again, that's what reminded me. I'm glad we're going that way. But
putting a lot of freezing cold takes for
yeah,
the podcast retrospective at the end of the year.
yeah, for sure. But another thing last thing I want to mention about the South Alabama defense is that they do have a good amount of returning talent. They've got Blaine Myrick at linebacker. He's a guy who led the team in tackles last year. He was a pretty forceful player in the game that we played. And I can't remember if there was another player, Wesley Miller, their safety. He's another returner. So like they've kept some continuity on that defensive side of the ball over the last couple years or so. And they've been a good defensive team. Obviously, they kept Auburn to a pretty low score. So I do think that they defensively won't be just such a pushover. I think they'll make us work for it offensively. But like you said, they have been giving up rushing yards, and I think that's the direction we go in terms of game plan. I think we're going to try and run the ball on them, and I think we've got the backs right now on the offensive line where I don't think that's going to be much of an issue. But
Yep.
I guess score prediction wise, is there anything you want to say before we get into that?
Please go to the game. Like, please show up. This team is doing a really, really good job. And there's one thing I want to say. Can we collectively, as a group, stop talking about our quarterback and head coach leaving in week 4? Like, please. I get it. I know that the sport is in a weird place right now. I understand everybody is fearful as a fan of a G5 team that nothing's sustainable and blah, blah, blah. I get it. North Texas is never winning at football ever. We haven't. And right now we are. And I don't want to think about Eric Morris's next destination. I don't want to think about Drew Mestemaker's NIL deals. We'll worry about that later. But as a collective fan base, please, can we stop talking about what's next on the horizon? We're 4-0. Just go week by week.
Yeah.
Let's soak in the moment. I'm not saying that it's not like you can worry about it. I worry about it, but like just side table it. We can stress about this in late November. Like
it'll get louder at that point, and then make more sense to talk about it then.
I refuse to let what could be the most entertaining and exciting season in this program's history and in my lifetime be bogged down by, well, it's just going to all come crashing down. Like, I'm not doing that. And you guys shouldn't do it either. Again, not saying you can't be worried about it, but let's do it later. It does not need to be talked about right now, please.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. It's gotten under my skin and I'm tired of thinking about it. And yeah. Did you want to talk about, we have a schedule announcement today. Did you want to add that in before we do?
Oh yeah, for sure. So Indiana replaced Wyoming on our schedule for 2026 next year. Kind of in that vein, the discussion in our group chat was basically saying like, hey, maybe this is a move to, in the past we were saying, oh, we're not going to schedule any more of these body bag games or any more of these pay for play games. And like now it's kind of being analyzed like, hey, maybe that makes more sense to do that. So yeah. I don't know that for sure that's why. I know Wyoming got moved. There's some speculation. I think they maybe did it to maintain their regional kind of yearly matchup with Colorado State, who's going to the Pac-12, and Wyoming staying in the Mountain West. That might be part of it as well. But again, I think that directionally and kind of budget wise, that does make sense. Like if you play one game a year against a team that's going to pay you to go there, then and if that money can be used to maybe keep a guy or two who you wouldn't have otherwise, like that might be the move to make in this kind of generation of college football. So again, Indiana, a program that's really at the top of their game right now.
Yeah.
That'll be a tough matchup, but you know what? Regardless, I think, like I said, the payout should be nice, and as long as the check clears, I get it. I get the decision.
If you want a baseball team at North Texas, this is a good game to cheer for.
Yeah, I'm cool with that line of thinking too.
Yeah, we got to get that athletic center expansion funded somehow, and there's a good way to do it.
Yep.
We're gonna lose probably. I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but Indiana's really good. I don't know if any of us are keeping an eye on the top 25 teams, but Indiana is a very, very, very good team. Kurt Signetti is a very, very, very good coach, and even though a lot of people are bummed we're losing the Wyoming trip, I do think that would be a fun.
No, I was, I like the idea of going to Denver for that one too, but yeah.
Never been to Indiana before. I've been to a lot of states, never been to Indiana. So
yeah.
We'll worry about that next year, but an interesting game nonetheless.
Yep.
All right, score predictions. You go first.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with a 38-24 win. I think that, like I said, I think they're gonna make our offense work. I think they're gonna get us off the field a handful of times that kind of make us go, oh man, wish we could have sustained that drive, but they didn't let us. I think there's gonna be a couple of those, and then offensively, I think that they'll probably run the ball fairly effectively, but I just think that our overall team talent and ability is just gonna be too much for them. I think 38-24, and I'm factoring in kind of maybe a later touchdown for them too. But I think this is one that we win handily. A lot would have to go wrong, and absolutely it can, but I think right now the way our team is situated, I feel like we have a lot of different avenues to win this game and take control of it through the early parts, middle parts, or end parts, however it works out. But like I said, that's what I'm going 38-24.
Fellas, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I'm going to aim to have this up on Apple, Spotify. I might go into the UNT subreddit and post it. I might go online and try and get some new listeners. So, if you're in the Denton area, if you're a student, it's going to be beautiful weather Saturday. The high is 85. It's going to be perfectly sunny. Might be a light breeze. No precipitation. Beautiful football weather. It's an 11 a.m. kick. You can be done with the game by 2. If you are like, I have other things to do, you're done by 2. You're done by 2 or 3 o'clock. You have the rest of your day. Nothing else to do the rest of the day. And you get to see us beat South Alabama by my score prediction of 41-20. I agree. I think that is probably maybe some second half relenting on the defensive side. I think they probably get some score late, but I don't see anything here, man. I'm sorry. I know last year's game with them was a little bit spicy and fun, but that was a lot of Gio Lopez, and he's not there anymore. Sure. This just does. I don't think this is a trap game. I think we have trap games on the schedule, but I don't think this is one of them after contemplating it. So, if you're listening to this, please go to the game. We need a lot of people at DATCU Stadium. I'm tired of seeing the wing empty. I'm tired of seeing spots in the student section empty. This team is 4-0. Go to the game. You have nothing to do after 3 o'clock. You have the whole game or whole day after the game's over, and it's a big game. It's a big game. We could be 5-0. So, we need everybody out there. 11 a.m. Saturday. And I'll be there. I'll be tailgating. So I have to work the actual game, but I'm going to tailgate before. So you can come say hi to me if that's something you want to do. But, you don't have to. But come to the game. We're going to win.
But you should.
You should. You still should. But we're going to win. We're going to win 41-20. I'm calling it. That's my score prediction.
All right. Cool. Well, if you made it this far, thank you for listening to Nice Long Podcast. We had a lot to talk about, and I hope you enjoyed it all. And thanks again for listening. Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.